And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Bubba the Bloom, episode 215, wrapping up our starting pitching previews for the 2025 fantasy baseball season with part 4, Quattro, for everybody out there. Get to that and much, much more. But first off, you can find me on Twitter at BDNtrick, the podcast at Bubba Bloom Pod, and on Patreon at patreon.com/Bubba Bloom. And my co-host, as always, on Twitter at RyanBHQ. Ryan Bloomfield, how we doing, my friend?
Seminal moment for the podcast right now. We are I don't even know what the right word is. Simul streaming. We're streaming two things at the same time right now. This show, of course, as we air at 9:13 local Tuesday night, but then also from your YouTube channel, KC Bubba Video, is Lucas Beery live streaming his Listener League auction, and Lucas is absolutely killing it. They're in the reserve rounds. We were gonna wait. We were gonna wait, but we were like, we should go. But yeah, there are two streams at the same time on Bubba's channel. We didn't even know if it would work, but it looks like Lucas is still going. So we're good.
We're good. Things are good. Third draft is almost in the books. It's been fun listening to everybody talk about it in the Discord and enjoy it. We've already had 2 of the 3 streamed. We'll have a few more coming up here. Over half of them will be streamed by the time it's all said and done, which is pretty awesome. You've been putting together, as each draft concludes, the updated, basically Bubba and the Bloom AAV in theory per player. You can elaborate on that if you'd so choose, but that's been a cool part of this as well.
Yeah, I set up a hub page for our Patreon subscribers, and it's got basically the list of everyone in all 10 leagues. It's got the Bubba and the Bloom pick tracking sheet, so it's just every single league, and then AAV and everything from that. And then links to all the live streams too. So if you're in the Patreon, you haven't seen that yet, check that out. We've pinned it to the top of our page, and I will keep updating that as more streams keep coming. Like you said, more than half will be live streams. So thank you for Lucas for doing this tonight. And thank you to Britton Allen and Kevin Hastings, who live streamed their draft on Monday. You can find that one over at the Palazzo Podcast YouTube page. So a lot of buzz around these leagues. It's been quite honestly, a ton of work to put together and herd cats to get everyone signed in.
You've done the Lord's work, my friend. Like, I just kind of do minimal things. You've been doing some awesome stuff to make this happen, to say the least.
But it's paying off. It's cool to see everyone excited about it. Everyone, being able to do not everyone can do auctions like this, because getting a home league auction together is very tough. And then on the NFBC, I think the lowest price point is like $150. So nothing crazy, but the $50 price point for these has been a low barrier of entry for everyone. So it's been really fun. You're going to stream yours on next Wednesday. I'm going to stream mine on Friday,
this Friday,
21st, 9 p.m. Eastern. So check that out.
Yeah. And then I think Rico next Thursday and our buddy Sheep next Friday. So you got those coming our way as well. I did want to shout out to Aaron Gifts in our chat. He does artwork for Pitcher List. He helped Lucas with this one, and that's been pretty awesome. So he's been contributing to this as well, just kind of a group effort. Like I said, everyone's pretty pumped about these, and it's been fun to watch it all take place. And like literally from start to finish, there's been 30 to 40 people watching Lucas's draft. Like, people are that interested in it. So that says a lot about we're getting close to 4.5 hours on that thing, and they're still in there watching the reserve rounds right now. So pretty awesome stuff.
And I hope this is the most dead live stream that we do of our shows. I think we've only got 2 or 3 people in here, no comments yet. That's fine. Go back over to Lucas, watch him do his thing. You can listen to this pod later on.
Speaking of this pod, a little update for you all. We got the final ADP 300 plus starting pitching tonight. Thursday night, relief pitcher preview. Then positional previews done. And we've been talking a lot of streaming already, but we got more for you, folks. On Tuesday next week, the 25th, the mixed labor draft, where Ryan Bloomfield will draft, and yours truly will be there with high noons by his side.
Oh no, we're drinking. We're drinking
the draft. No, I'm kidding. I won't, because I have another podcast now after that. So no, but we're gonna stream that one, which is always an awesome one, and it gets people hyped up for it. Labor is one of the first big industry ones out there.
Yep. 8 p.m. I think you said, right? 8 p.m. Eastern.
Maybe, yeah.
Next Tuesday. So not our normal time, but be sure to check that out. It is probably my favorite stream of the year. It's just a ton of fun, a lot of eyeballs on it, and I get properly hazed from everybody in the chat, and of course from you as well. Don't have draft order yet. I'm sure that'll come out sometime soon. But yeah, you won't miss it. We do our thing with graphics and promoting it and that sort of thing. But yeah, next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, Labor live stream, and then I mean, not to confuse everybody, but the following Tuesday is Tout Wars mixed draft, and Bubba, you and I are both in that league, so we will be streaming that one the following Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. So
lots of streaming going on there. And if anybody's curious about like Baseball HQ does their first pitch online, that's this week, next weekend coming up Thursday through Sunday. I'll be helping stream the AL only labor draft on Friday night. So if you guys are interested in drafting and hearing my voice for long periods of time, I got you covered. So don't you worry about that.
And mornings, breakfast with Bubba podcast. We'll you can't miss this guy. But yes, the HQ first pitch online. I don't think they've opened up, but probably by the time you hear this, they may have opened up registration. But February 27th to March 2nd, Bubba, you're doing the Friday night stream. I think I'm going to do a labor recap on Thursday, and then I'm also running the 1s and 2s on Zoom behind the scenes throughout the weekend. It's a great weekend. HQ's not doing first pitch Florida this year, so the online we've done the last couple of years, but would expect a good number of folks to be checking that out. So head over to HQ and get more info there.
Speaking of Baseball HQ, if you guys want to get ready for draft season, the draft prep subscription over at Baseball HQ gets you access to the site from now till the end of April. So you get projections, all the pre-draft stuff, spring training stuff, all the goodies, plus the full month of in-season action. Gets you rocking and rolling with the draft prep subscription. Ryan has his speculator dropping Wednesday. As you're probably listening to the show, I had another my AL West tomorrow will drop every Tuesday. So those are coming out for you. And there'll be tons of other stuff in season off daily matchups and tons of great content by many other smarter people than I on that website. So check that out with the draft prep subscription. And if you want that, you get $10 off with promo code Bubba Bloom, all one word, BUBBA BLOOM. So go check that out at baseballhq.com. All right, starting pitching preview part 4, Ryan. ADP 300 plus. We've kind of run the gauntlet here, is the best way I'll say it. We've gone through it all. We've actually, I guess we're ADP 270 plus. I spoke out of turn. It's basically,
is this the right one? This is the right one, right?
You're correct. That is
okay.
No, Jackson Jobe should be 271.
Yeah, you're right.
You want the other one? This is something we did pre off the air, folks. So Ryan will get that up for you in just a second. But it's going to be ADP 271 and beyond. We'll cover 271 through 368. So it's ADP 81 through 110 starting pitcher wise. And then we'll each give you a long shot past 110 as well. So lots of stuff here. You're going to see a lot of red on the board because remember, these stats correlate to starting pitching as a whole, not just the 30 pitchers on this board. What else do you have for us, Ryan? As it's end game time.
It's end game time, but I mean, in your 15 teamers, these are guys you are counting on for at least part of the season. So this isn't totally crazy. And your 12 teamers, I mean, you would know better than me. It probably is end game time, and you're looking at
this is definitely end game time. Yep.
Early season rentals or high ceiling types guys. So we'll try and cater that analysis to a couple different league types. But yeah, I mean, it may seem like we're diving super deep into the starting pitcher pool, but this is the kind of stuff that I mentioned this on the last show. It's the kind of stuff that makes or breaks teams if you hit on a few of these guys.
Yep. No, this is where you can definitely get out to a great start to your draft. You could win a lot of things here. There's going to be some prospects or some younger arms we're going to talk about here. There's some, there's going to be the Grant Holmes of the world's been a polarizing conversation right now. That'll be one to talk about. Ryan's first person he's going to talk about here is very, very interesting. I think his ADP should keep going up, but so on and so forth. So before I start just mentioning every player on the board, let's get into it. And we'll start with ADP 81 through 85 at the starting pitching position. You got Jackson Jobe at 271, Kumar Rocker, Nestor Cortes, Michael Wacha, and Max Scherzer at 293. So again, there's 21 picks or 22 picks between these five, and kind of pick your poisons here. It's really we're not going to talk Jobe or Rocker, but it's two young arms that could be electric. We just don't know how many innings they're going to get. So you could draft them now, and you're going to drop them later. That's where we're at in the draft. But who's the guy you're going to talk about here?
We talk about Scherzer, and it's kind of along those similar lines where if you look at like a full season projection for Max Scherzer, I don't have the innings up in front of me, but I'm sure the innings are low because the projection is only for 122 strikeouts. But I think you need to not look at a full season projection for Max Scherzer and just think if you're going to take him around pick 300, which is where he's going, if you get 2-3 months of good Max Scherzer, I think this pick works out. And for me, the only concern is for Max Scherzer right now is health. The skills, even though there was a 5% drop in K rate from 28% down to 23% last year, the swinging strike actually went up. Almost a 15% swinging strike, 31% ball rate. Those are the two key metrics I'm looking at for some of these guys, and Max Scherzer checks both of those boxes. From a skill standpoint, this is still, I don't want to say like vintage Max Scherzer, but he's still a very good pitcher. And he just signed with Toronto. All signs are he is healthy right now. And if you can get, like I said, 2-3 months of this type of Max Scherzer at pick 293, I think you go with that. And then if he gets hurt halfway through the season, you go to Fab and you thank him for his service and go from there. I just think Max Scherzer is like super safe. You're getting a really good pitcher for who knows how long, but while he's pitching, he's still going to be pretty damn good in my opinion.
Yeah, love me some Scherzer at this ADP. Like I said, it should climb. Like maybe it inches up, but it should climb for sure. I have his page up. He's like the bat has him for 105 innings. Zips has him 119, Steamer 124, ATC 105. So it's all over the board. But to your point, like I'm with you, and that's why I like this ADP. So if you didn't want to talk about him here, I was going to bring him up. I'll take the whatever he can give me and move on if I have to. Because even like you said last year when he was on the bump, he was still Max Scherzer. Like he just had to do it. Like that's an electric side of things. So definitely a pick I don't mind in this range. For me, I'm going Nasty Nestor. Nasty Nestor Cortes. I do not understand the hate outside of, I guess people remember him putting one on a tee for Freddie Freeman in the postseason. Nestor Cortes last year, 174 innings pitched through 156 2 years ago. We had a 3.77 ERA. Like 2023 was bad, but you look at the last 3 out of the last 4 years, pretty darn impressive in the ratio departments with Nestor Cortes. You know, a 17% K to walk rate, which is not bad. He has a 1.15 WHIP. To get a 1.15 WHIP at this ADP is pretty much unheard of. Like it's been 1.15. He had the bad year in 23.92, 1.08. Nestor Cortes has been super formidable, like really, really formidable. Now where Scherzer, maybe he's got a ceiling. Kumar Rocker, Jackson Jobe, ceiling for whatever innings they have. That's fair. Nestor Cortes could pitch the entire season in Milwaukee, barring an injury, and give you a larger bulk of quality ratios, which is what we talk about, is something that comes into play in this conversation. And, you know, you might get, you know, hit a speed bump in strikeouts, but 162 Ks, 163 Ks in 2 out of the last 3 years, that didn't crush you. He's like K rates over 22%. I love Nestor Cortes. Like it might be a boring pick. I think as long as he stays healthy in Milwaukee, you know, he's out of the AL East. That could only help. I know schedules are a little more even these days, but as a whole, still pretty good. I do not understand this ADP at 279 for Nestor Cortes. When you look at pitchers we talked about in the last episode, like I take him over a lot of guys in that last episode. So I'm a big fan here, and I will continue to grab these shares for Nestor Cortes.
Real quick, Jackson Jobe or Kumar Rocker? Just which one would you rather have this year? Same ADP, same type of profile.
Kumar Rocker.
All right, same.
Yeah, we've seen him do it. Joe, we saw him briefly out of the bullpen. I think there's more questions involved there, and yeah, I'll take Rocker. And
I also this pocket's like you make a great case for Nestor. I like Waka too.
Waka's fine too.
282 ADP. He's been. Yep. I mean, just look at his. Yes, there's a stats for a skills divide, but look at Michael Waka's ratios the last 3 seasons, each of them. You will look at never find that this late.
The wins he actually gets because he eats innings, just doesn't strike guys out. But other than that, like you mentioned it, ratios, wins, dude's pretty darn good. So I get it. This range is not in a 15. I love Waka because you've probably taken chances already, and you might need a little help. Like that's just a floor play. But yeah, in a 12. You probably go with the Rocker Joe pick here, maybe Scherzer over Cortes and Waka personally, but I like Cortes quite a bit. All right, next up here, 86 through 90, got Cutter Crawford, and that wealth of news we've gotten recently. Good Lord. How do you mess up your knee, get knee tendonitis in your third start of 2024, and you pitch through it and you don't get it fixed in the offseason? But now the more we hear about Boston going on right now, I get it.
Exactly.
I get it. The more I hear about Boston,
That's
like we got the Crawford news like 3 days before all heck broke loose, it seems like, in Boston. So yeah, makes sense now.
it's the least of Boston's worries, Cutter Crawford's health, and it shouldn't be, but it is the least of their worries right now. Yeah, Cutter Crawford. In case you haven't heard, I am very concerned about the knee injury, and Cutter Crawford, even though I like him, he is currently off my board in non-IL leagues.
Bubba Chandler, 297. David Festa, your boy, 299. Mitch Keller, Corbin Young's guy, or Hunter Brown. I don't know. It depends on how you want it, at ADP 300. And Grant Holmes at ADP 300. So I'll give you the floor. Talk about your guy.
Yes, I'm going to talk about my guy. I'm going to talk about David Festa, who came up towards the end of last season. I picked him up in a bunch of fab leagues, so I was closely monitoring David Festa and just really liked what I saw. I mean, even just watching his starts, watching his stuff, watching his demeanor, all of the above. Over 64 innings, if you look at the stats, I mean, it was ugly on the surface. 4.90 ERA, 132 WHIP. Skills were much, much better. 28% K rate for Festa. Really good. League average control last year in the majors, supported by a slightly better than average ball rate. So missed a ton of bats. I like David Festa a lot. The one concern that I have is I think he should start in the Twins rotation. That is a concern if you draft David Festa. There is a chance. I don't know what % chance that is, but there is a chance he does not start in the rotation and then becomes a hard stash. That's the only thing. But I think this is one of those folks look at the Fangraphs depth charts and look at roster resource and sees David Festa not in the Twins rotation and sees Chris Paddock and Simeon Woods Richardson in. I just have a very hard time buying that. So I am taking Festa. I don't want to say going out on a limb, but assuming that he will be in the rotation. I just want to introduce that risk to you all out there that there's a chance he doesn't. But I don't know if you have any kind of, you're more the playing time guy than I am. I think he's in the rotation.
He should be. I agree. You look at roster resource, you look at other factors that could sway people, I guess, to that decision. Fest is better than all of them. If we're going talent alone, he just blows Simeon Woods Richardson out of the way. Like, Simeon Woods Richardson's closer to Michael Wacha, where David Festa's closer to like Kumar Rocker, I guess, if you want to compare the two, like in a roundabout way. So I would take the upside of Festa all day long. Should be in the rotation. Hopefully the Twins make the right call. Put it that way. For me, it's Grant Holmes, and it's been a very, very, very popular name mentioned these days around fantasy baseball. His ADP is 300 right now. What I enjoy about Grant Holmes is people look like the season stat line, and they'll be like, whatever. You know, he threw 68 in the third innings, 3.56 ERA. That's pretty not whatever to me. We saw the Sierra 3.37. That's very good. The season K to walk, if you want Grant Holmes, 20%. That's a plus. He is 29, so he's an older player. That's been one of the pushbacks. Like, how's he just figuring it out now? Well, he's with Oakland and got moved around. That's enough for most people to believe. Then people point out the second half, and he went from a 106 ERA in the first half, in 17 innings, 51 innings in the second half, 4.38 ERA. Yes, that's a big bump, but there was a few, I guess, luck factors, I would say, that skewed things for one Grant Holmes. Because if you want to dig a little deeper here, Grant Holmes did increase his K rate from 22.6 to 25.5, a 3% jump in strikeout rate, while dropping his walk rate 1.5% to give him a 20.5% K to walk in the second half, which I thought was very good. He also had a 340 BABIP compared to 227. That is the unlucky part I'm talking about. So he had the 4.68 ERA, but a 3.57 xFIP. There's a lot of things that do point in a positive direction for Holmes. The home runs are an issue. That's not gonna, that was an issue the whole time for him. Something to definitely monitor when it comes to Grant Holmes. You want to try to limit that, obviously, but at a pick 300, I don't mind. He still had a 43% ground ball rate, 41% fly ball rate. Could skew that a little bit. When I look at his profile, especially that second half, where you look at the unlucky parts to it, but you also look at there's a lot of home runs involved to it. You know what stands out to me right away, Ryan? He feels like Brandon Pfaadt from a recent season. Like, I don't know if
Okay.
the pitch mix
Yeah.
is the same, but if you look at the guy, like Brandon Pfaadt's always been kind of a walk things, but it's the home runs. Like, just keep them on the darn ballpark. And Holmes does very well versus righties, kind of struggles versus lefties. Brandon Pfaadt. Like, this is a thing we've seen in the same profile. Again, not trying to say he's going to be Brandon Pfaadt, but he at least showed the chances to improve in that direction, take the steps in the right direction. ADP 300, I'll take Grant Holmes and see where it goes with the upside at that point.
We're going to throw a special Bloom board on here at the end of the show, and Grant Holmes is number 1 on that Bloom board. We'll kind of cliffhang that one. So Grant Holmes, a full agree. At first, I was a little concerned Holmes would not make the Atlanta rotation. They seemed, for whatever reason, to not be kind of vibing Holmes in the rotation last season, but I think he's totally safe there. Grant Holmes, I'm a nice guy, right? So I let you kind of claim him, but he is my favorite, and I think probably yours too. He is my favorite pitcher on this entire board for where he's going. So
yep, love him. I do want to do one little shout out in this range though. First off, Corbin Young, you got your shout out coming up. I saved your thing. You can have your Mitch Keller moment, but I just do want to shout out Bubba Chandler. This is one of those picks. I've talked about it on our Underdog show. I've talked about it a couple other places. He is the next one to join the Skeens Jones culture in Pittsburgh. It feels like he's better than Jones, obviously not better than Skeens, but could be pretty darn close type thing when all things are said and done. The skill set's ridiculous. It's one of those where a lot of quote unquote people that think they're experts that I kind of at least respect, like they're not the Pirates, so we don't know the answer. A lot of them think it'll be the Skeens path, like maybe miss a month and then join the team and pitch the rest of the year. Chandler was stretched out last year. He's a guy I have zero problem taking at pick 290, like 297 range, and rolling the dice with here because I think there's an immense ceiling with Bubba Chandler that I'd take him over Job and Rocker personally because more than anything, Chandler stretched out. Like he could pitch all season like Skeens did, and those other two can't.
Yeah.
So I'd take Chandler there for sure.
Agreed. The Rocker. Yeah, that's tough. I think I've taken Rocker before I have Bubba Chandler in some drafts. Everything you said is totally valid, and I know we are both kind of old man consistency drafters, but at pick 300, this is where we want to take our risks. And even in this case, a stash. Like, just know you're going to have to stash Bubba Chandler for a month and a half, which is most likely kind of to what you were saying, Bubba. And so just make sure like that is your only stash if you take Bubba Chandler. That applies for IL leagues too, because Bubba Chandler is not starting the season on the IL. He's starting the season. Well, we hope he doesn't start the season on the IL. He's starting in the minors. So it's a stash in any type of league. So just know that. But if you plan for that, he's your only one. I think you can absolutely, and it sounds like he is worth, again, listening to prospect folks smarter than us, it sounds like he is worth taking that shot. And yeah, like Pittsburgh, we talk a lot of crap about the Pittsburgh Pirates on this show.
Usually valid,
but it is damn hard to argue how they have developed their young pitchers over the last season or two with Skeens and Jones. So if Bubba Chandler is as good as Jared Jones, we saw what Jared Jones did in the first half last year, and he was one of the best pitchers in the game. So I am all for a Bubba Chandler spec stash and hopefully prevail. You just got to wait a month, 6 weeks, whatever, to get there.
For sure. All right, now we go 91 through 95. Merrill Kelly at 303, Matthew Boyd, Luis Severino, Frankie Montas, T's and P's, and Cody Bradford at 316. This region sucks.
Yeah, this region sucks. RIP to Frankie Montas. Did I even pick anybody?
Yeah, we both kind of plugged our nose and picked somebody here.
Yeah, I have not taken Luis Severino in any type of draft yet. I just think I don't love the ceiling. He's 30 years old, but I like, especially in like 15-team leagues where you still need to count on some of these guys. I like the fact that, wait, did I say, well, what am I doing?
You said Luis Severino. You're talking about Matthew Boyd on the sheet, but talk about whoever you want.
I looked at the wrong thing. You get 180 innings of decent ratios, decent skills with Luis Severino, and I think that just works in a deeper league if you need that in 15-teamers. So it is one of the like safer plays, I think, that that you can go for at this point and not have to worry about like a super low floor.
All right, I'm going to bring up Cody Bradford, and I want to at least, if anything, update you on what the Rangers are thinking about with Cody Bradford, because Bradford was really, really good in the rotation last year. Bradford obviously had his injury, but they came back to the rotation because they couldn't fill the healthy rotation. They won't be able to fill the healthy rotation all year this year either. So that's why I want to bring up Cody Bradford in this regard. If you look at the Rangers rotation, there's a couple things that made me laugh when I did the Rangers preview show with the auction man this past evening, Lucas Bury. You look at the rotation, it's Nathan Eovaldi, 36 years old. Jacob deGrom, 37 years old. John Gray, 33. Tyler Mahle, 30. Bradford's 27. Kumar Rocker. Where I'm getting at is, and Molly's history, Gray's history, deGrom's history is Eovaldi. Like, you guys get where I'm going with this. There's going to be IL stints. Cody Bradford is very, very good. Cody Bradford should be in the rotation. Cody Bradford is going to start in the bullpen because Kumar Rocker is going to start in the rotation. That's pretty much everything that's been on the writing over the last couple of days.
You sound confident. You sound confident in that.
Well, what Bruce Bochy flat out said is Bradford's going to get a lot of work out of the bullpen. That's what he said. So if he starts in the rotation,
okay,
there
we go.
I think if things change, it's because like an injury or something took place this spring. And then Bochy also said there's no chance. Like he basically squashed Gray as the closer. Gray said he's never heard anything about being the closer. You know, there's all those rumors. Bochy said they need Gray in the rotation. So it leaves Rocker as the fifth man. It leaves Bradford out, is what it comes down to. My point being, you probably don't need to draft Bradford, but this region sucks. So I want to bring Bradford up as a guy to be ready to pick up when someone gets hurt, essentially. Like if he was going to be the fifth man, I would draft him at this point. That's right.
Agreed. Agreed. We just don't know. Yeah. When the big melon speaks, you should probably listen.
Yes.
I will throw out.
Not me, guys. Bochy, not me.
Yes, I'm not. I wouldn't degrade you like that. I never would. No personal insults on the show here. I will give a little shout out to Matthew Boyd along the lines of what I was talking about with Max Scherzer earlier. It's like, while you have Matthew Boyd, I think you're in line for some pretty good ratios, some pretty good results. It's just he hasn't thrown 80 innings in a season, and at least since COVID. I just think, like, compared to Scherzer, you're a better bet to get to 100 innings than you are with Matthew Boyd. So I feel like Matthew Boyd is more a 12-team play, where he's certainly rosterable, startable even when he's healthy, but you just can't rely on it for very long.
Yep, I'm with you. It's the innings again. Like if I'm gonna take innings gambles, it's probably other spots. That's the only downside with this whole situation, I guess. But yeah, region sucks. 96 through 100 here. We got DJ Herz, Tobias Myers, Eric Fede, Brian Bayo, who's dealing with a shoulder issue already, Jose Soriano. So what are you seeing here?
So like, it's been a long week. It's only Tuesday, but it's been a long week. And so while I was talking about Luis Severino earlier, I got confused with Jose Soriano on my sheet.
That's what I figured. I figured that's what you're looking at.
I don't know. I don't like this group of five. I like them far worse than the previous group of five. DJ Herz, Myers, Fede, Bayo, who I didn't even know was having shoulder problems. Like another Red Sox problem. Than Jose Soriano. I would much rather grab one of the five going before this. So I don't really even have that much to say on Soriano. Like he throws hard, which may not be the best thing in the world out there, given what we've seen in recent seasons. So I don't know. The projections are okay on Soriano, but I'm probably passing on this group in general, outside of the guy you're about to talk about.
Yeah, when it comes to Soriano, like I'll give just a little bit of upside to him. Is dude's got some crazy strikeout skills. It's just walks are a massive issue with him, which is going to be the thing. It's one of those, if he can fine tune it, and he's had waves where he has fine tuned it. It's kind of like a Twins or an Angels thing. You know, Detmers has a similar skill set, it feels like, and so on and so forth. But Soriano, being he's only 26, I think there's room for that growth.
I guess he didn't miss many bats, like 10% swing strike. For me, it's the ground balls. 60% ground ball rate. That'll keep him in games. I don't even want to make the Framber Valdez comp because a lot of, as I love to just throw comps off the wall at this point, this draft season, a lot of what Framber does is pitch deep into games and get that volume. And Jose Soriano with the velocity, which was 113 innings last season, again, not in the majors, not totally all his fault. Don't think you can trust that volume quite yet.
Yep. I get it. I get it. He's definitely going to be a guy we talk about on Fab episodes.
I like how I pick him on the sheet and then you're defending him and I'm
trying to give some love to it.
Oh,
let's
man.
talk about a guy that we both can agree on. That's DJ Herz. If you guys are listeners to the show and listen to most of last season, I think you know my thoughts on DJ Herz by now. I think I pounded the drum every opportunity I could to pick up DJ Herz because every underlying metric suggested he was better than he was, and he struck dudes out. And like the strikeouts dwindled a bit as the season wore on, which maybe people are figuring him out, vice versa, who knows. But over 88 innings, we saw a 4.16 ERA. But again, those indicators we were talking about, 3.77 Sierra, not bad for a guy that was 23. He's going to be 24 this year. 27.7% K rate, 18.3% swinging strike rate. That is very elite. Very good as well for, again, a 23-year-old in that range. 13% swinging strike rate. Like, again, not elite, but pretty darn good for a dude just getting it figured out. Gives up a ton of fly balls. That is a slight concern there, but I love DJ Herz. I think there's a whole nother level to DJ Herz. I think DJ Herz is better than a lot of people in that Nats rotation, personally, and that's where I'm going with this right now. He's the odd man out at the moment, which is ridiculous. It's kind of like the way you feel about David Festa in Minnesota. It's how I feel about Herz in Washington. Like, they went out inside Mike Soroka. I get it. It's a cheap flyer, whatever. You got Gore, who I love. Jake Irvin, if you go look at his page, you'd be shocked. He actually ate a lot of innings, which this rotation needs. Okay,
he's fine staying in. It's these other
Mitchell,
three guys.
Mitchell Parker, who was whatever. Like, he was good, but whatever. Trevor Williams probably gets hurt. He was actually pitching way above his skis before he got hurt. Then again, there's Soroka. So eventually Herz is going to get his. It should be on opening day. Probably not going to be on opening day, unfortunately. But Herz is a guy I want a lot of shares of if I can. Even if especially if you're an early drafter, draft him now. Maybe an injury in the spring happens or something changes and he starts in the rotation. You're going to be very happy with that pick is all I'm going to say. So love DJ Herz. Only reason why he's going this far back in the draft, I think, is because of the questions about him in the rotation.
I still think, I know you and Lauren Auerbach talked about this on your Nationals preview on Bench with Bubba. I still think DJ Herz starts in the rotation, but it is something that can, it is like, so I would not take like Herz, Festa, and like Bubba Chandler. Like, then you have a potential for having like three starting. You can't even field a team of pitchers if you and that's kind of what we're talking about, is kind of pick and choose your stashes and at least be aware of some risk to not starting in the rotation for some of these guys. I think that's kind of what we're trying to get to with some of the guys who we like, but we're just not totally sure they start.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, is because it's in games. So it's like you take the boring guy that's in the rotation, like Eric Fede. I don't mind in a 15. Don't want him in a 12. Don't mind him in a 15 though. He brings a pretty decent floor. He's going to eat innings, but I'd rather take a chance on Tobias Myers, maybe figuring it out if I'm going to at that point. If we're talking this range here, Myers, the ratios last year, he was probably overachieving in that regard. The strikeouts were down. If he can figure out how to ramp up some strikeouts, maybe that could be a big thing with him. Again, he's young. Maybe he does take a step in the right direction. You know, he's got Cy Volley that can maybe teach him a few things, Ryan. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I'm just like picking.
I don't know if you want to take lessons from Cy Volley anymore. I know he's my guy, but former. We've split up.
So I'm just throwing like this region out here. It's as you're getting deep in the draft, 12 teamers, these are your last picks. You're taking flyers, seeing what you can do. Like Herz is the flyer to take here, but I could see. I just can't. Bayo is off the board for me. I'll say that much. So
I didn't know Bayo was slowed.
Yeah, slowed by a shoulder soreness. They're expecting him to be ready shortly. Like I said it on Breakfast with Bubba. I was like, if you talk shoulders or you talk elbows, you pretty much go down ADP for me right away and maybe off my board, because if you're already having shoulder or elbow issues in spring, I do not want to know what the regular season is going to hold for you. You have to be an elite arm for me to take that chance, and Bayo's not an elite arm.
Must have missed that. I have listened to both of your Breakfast with Bubba.
I talk fast, so it's also in the news on the website if you want it. So
well, you know that I don't.
I didn't throw that out there. Didn't throw that out there until we got there. All right, before we get to the final 10 here and some longer shot picks, Ryan, I know you were doing it last week. Have you been any? I think you texted me while I was at a 5-year-old birthday party. You were drafting dingers on Saturday. How's that going for you? Enjoying your dinger drafts on Underdog?
I am enjoying my dingers. I showed my player shares in the Discord the other day, and pretty good feedback on it. But yeah, I am full dinger mode right now. It's been fun. Great way to kill time.
Yep, my slow draft bunts are almost complete, so I'll be joining you in the dinger arena here very shortly. And if you guys want to do some Underdog drafting and season-long best ball, or if you just want to see what it's like to maybe make some some over-under plays, maybe some daily stuff in season, they also have other sports and all kinds of goodies there. You can check all that out when you're a new member. You sign up and make your first deposit. Use promo code Bubba Bloom, all one word. Get a first-time deposit match up to $1,000. That's at underdog.com. Promo code Bubba Bloom for first-time deposit match up to $1,000.
Much better than being at a 5-year-old birthday party. I can confirm.
There's a reason I went to the beach the next day. All right. Picks 101 through 105. Nick Martinez, Chris Bassett, Jamison Tyon, Brady Singer, Ryan Weathers. There is 3 guys that are other than Bassett, Tyon, Singer. It's just like, wow, we're still doing this thing. And then you got Martinez and Weathers. So what are you liking in this range?
Yeah, naturally, I'm taking the guy with all red in his projections, but whatever. It's kind of a weird range. Like these guys you just mentioned, like low ceiling volume type of plays and Nick Martinez, Bassett, Tyon, and Brady Singer. I'm going to go Nick Martinez. I just think the changes that he made and the transition that Nick Martinez made from bullpen to rotation last year look very good, especially on the control front. 3% walk rate for Nick Martinez last year. That is almost George Kirby-esque. And I sound like a broken record, but whenever I see a change in a pitcher's control, I want to look at that underlying ball percentage. And for Nick Martinez, it was 33%, which is one of the best around. So throws a ton of strikes. Thus, the whip should be very good. Keep guys off base in Great American's ballpark. That works. It did sacrifice some whiffs to now be a control artist, but still an 11% swinging strike for Nick Martinez. I think he'll get enough Ks to make it worth your while. So I don't mind Nick Martinez at 339. I will fully admit the ceiling isn't that high, but again, for a lot of these guys in this range, for whatever reason, that's kind of par for the course with this group.
Yeah, Gonzalez is still a tough one for me. I know you've been on him through and through, so I'm not going to throw shade at all because you always bring good points up with him. That ballpark terrifies me, and I'm even worried about taking a guy like Hunter Green there. So if I can't take Hunter Green there, I can't probably take Nick Gonzalez or Nick Martinez. So it's a me thing more than anything. But the points you make are very valid. And again, I know we're talking. People probably say in games. In a 12, I'm not a big Martinez fan. I don't think there's a ceiling there. In a 15, though, he's a bench streamer. We talk about bench streamers all the time. Like Kyle Gibson was the prototypical bench streamer. Nick Martinez, okay, so you don't want to pitch him in Great American. Fine. He's probably very good on the road. Like with the skill set you mentioned, he's probably very much worth streaming on the road. I could go that far with it. And just something to think about. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's good at home too, based on the the control he has and everything else. But I'm just terrified of that ballpark with some guys that just don't have an elite strikeout stuff. The more balls in play just lead to potential for more problems.
There's a little bit of a Michael Wacha effect with Nick Martinez too, where you just look and the skills have improved, and that's why I'm taking him. But Nick Martinez, each of the last 3 seasons, 100 plus innings and a sub 3.5 ERA. Again, that's 3 years in a row. Maybe you outpitch your skills for 3 years in a row. You're lucky for 3 years in a row, that sort of thing. But Nick Martinez, just get the feeling he kind of knows how to pitch, just like Wacha, that sometimes the skills can't account for some of those guys, which is weird for me to say, but that's, I don't know, I'm trying to broaden my expanse.
If anything, that's big of you because I've kind of said the Wacha thing for a couple of years now, and you kept going like, no, I don't think so. No. So you're growing. I appreciate that. You're opening your mind to the situation. Like I learned how to drag an Excel file on the Patreon episode.
Oh
you
my
are
God.
doing this. So this is
That was
good.
worth. So we did a Patreon only like rankings debate show where we just went through our rankings and went on guys. And I started changing my rankings like live during the show because it's in Google. Anyone can access it at any time who's signed up. And I start dragging, moving cells around and stuff. And I could see the look on Bubba's face, like just in awe of what I was doing. And then like I was waiting for you to kind of be like, how did you do that? And sure enough, it was so basically our rankings debate kind of sidebarred into a Excel Google Sheets tutorial on how to move cells around. So that was
that's the beauty of the Patreon shows. There's really no structure to it. We're there to have
no,
fun and
that
chat and
no
go with it.
And we went with it. I mean, we
yeah.
probably 4 or 5 minutes of that stuff, which
And then Jenny Butler's in the chat going, we needed a full Excel. We might actually do it now because if anything, you could do it on Patreon. You could teach Excel and watch me just be like, whoa, ask the dumbest questions that people might actually have but are afraid to ask. I'll ask them. So we can have a field day here. But
oh man,
yeah, you probably saw that look like your kids give you when they're like, wow, that's how that works. Yeah, no, that was me at that point in time. All right, back to the drawing board here. I'm going to go with Ryan Weathers, ADP 357.
okay.
First, I was pretty much not interested in all. You know, you hear there's a couple things here. Like the best shape of your life stuff is always something to just like laugh at. But for a guy that was chunky like him, coming into camp at age 25, like totally like he got a chef, like changed everything. That's first off. At least he's trying in the positive direction. I like that. Secondly, when I did my Marlins preview with Chris Towers, he mentioned a ton of stuff that at least made me look at Ryan Weathers and like, okay, like for one, I feel like Ryan Weathers has been around forever. Dude's going to be 25 this year. He hasn't been around forever, which is crazy. Ryan Weathers was once one of the top pitching prospects in baseball with the Padres. It flamed out, got traded. Now he's with the Marlins, obviously. Ryan Weathers, we saw him throw 86 innings last year with a 3.63 ERA. He might have overachieved a little bit when you're looking at like the Sierra of a 3.98. Still not bad at this point in the draft. I will take that in a heartbeat. 1.18 whip this past year. We saw a 15.3% K to walk, a 21.6% K rate, dropped his walk rate to 6.5% after an 11.3 and a 19%. I know small samples because he hasn't really put a full season at the big league level, but definitely showed some market improvements last year with the Miami Marlins. Now, if you throw health into that as well to maybe make him be able to go 150 innings, so on and so forth, that's big. He upped his swinging strike to 11% from 9.2% in 2023. It's baby step stuff, and maybe I'm just grasping at straws here. But this is a guy that's going to be locked into the Marlins rotation. He's going to pitch every fifth day. They have no reason to take him out if he's healthy. Like, no reason to take him out if he's healthy. And if he doesn't take a large step, just takes a step forward, an ADP 357, he's probably worth a pick inside the top 300 at that point. And now, like, in a vacuum, like I love Nestor Cortes. If Ryan Weathers just takes a step forward, he could be closer to Nestor Cortes than he is now. Let's put it that. Like sure. He could be in that rank. He's got that kind of skill set. So I'm a fan of him at that point. I think it's just you're betting on upside, you're betting on improvements on a young arm. And I take that bet over the old guys and like Tyon, Bassett, Singer, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm starting to buy into Weathers quite a bit as one of my late picks.
I just feel like Weathers could be like, he could be one of those guys who breaks out in 25. And at the end of the season, we're like, well, no shit, he did.
Yeah, that's why when Chris Towers talked,
said.
Chris, like he opened my eyes to it. I'm like, I just totally have written him off the first 3 months of drafting. And then he mentioned all these things. I'm like, that makes, yes. Why am I not paying attention to any of this with him? And so it's like, yeah, everything you just said, sorry, I cut you off on that. But it is like one of those, right? I kind of don't want to miss out now type thing.
Did get an upside of 150 innings, 3.50 ERA from our guy, Chris Olson, in the Baseball Forecaster this year. So Chris sees some of what you're seeing as well. So I dig it. Real quick, Kevin Hastings in the chat here says, I'm in the minority. I don't know if you are, because I'm with you, Kevin. But I think the park change for Singer going to Cincinnati is overblown due to being a ground ball guy. I think it could actually help because those dimensions, typically, if you're a home run park, it's usually better for your BABIP. So I'm with you on Brady Singer. I think he's being docked a little bit too much at his 350 ADP for the move to Cincinnati.
Michael C in the chat here says he loves Weathers and drops and holds like SP9. Our good buddy David McDonald's in the chat here He says Weathers is a huge buy. So yeah, I think we're all starting to catch on to that. So we'll see. David does a lot of the main event type stuff. So we'll see come when we're in Vegas, Ryan, if there's a lot more Weathers. Like maybe he's more of a 2. Maybe he is going where Nestor Cortes is going at that point.
Right.
Because movements, if people like him in those leagues, they'll get pushed up a bunch. So that'll be interesting to see if that pans out.
Wish we did the show a month ago. I would now have Weathers bolded on my sheet, but
yeah, well,
you make a good case.
You got the auction draft coming your way, and you got labor on Tuesday. So have some fun there.
Yep.
All right, let's talk ADPs 106 through 110 at the pitcher position here, starting pitching position here. Chris Bubich, 358, Justin Verlander, 360, Andrew Painter, 364, Reed Detmers, 365, Kyle Harrison, 368. It's the big section of pick and pray.
Yeah.
That's what this comes down to.
Right. And hold your nose. So I'm going to take Reed Detmers here, but like I fully understand, as I vomited my mouth trying to pump up Reed Detmers that he had a 6.70 ERA and 87 innings last year with the Angels. Like it was terrible, but I will always side with the skills. Like the underlying indicators for Reed Detmers look really good. Career high swinging strike rate for Reed Detmers, career best ball rate. So like everything was there. He just got tattooed, obviously, but it's what I call at HQ the trifecta of bad fortune for a pitcher, and that is a super high BABIP for Reed Detmers. It was a super low left on base or strand rate, depending on where you get that info, and a super high homer to fly ball rate. All three of those things were pretty heavily against Reed Detmers last year. I expect those to regress back as they typically do, not totally back to league average because pitchers have some control over that stuff. But I just think with near neutral luck factors, Reed Detmers was actually like a good pitcher last season. And so I'm willing to take a stab at Detmers at 365. Am I going to start him the first week of the season? Probably not. I don't know what the matchup is yet or whatever. I haven't looked at that yet, but I will take Reed Detmers as like a perfect reserve guy, see how he looks these first couple starts and then go from there.
Yeah, no, that's I think we all know my feelings on him. I loved him off the waiver wire last year, got burned by him in the end, but he gave us a couple. That was good. He's definitely a high volatility guy, but has shown the skill set to potentially have something. So again, in-game pick, see what happens. Easy drop if all else fails at that point in time. I had to pick someone here, so I'll pick Kyle Harrison just for the discussion of Kyle Harrison, because if we're going to talk young pitchers with upside, used to be a major talent prospect and whatnot. Now to put it out there, Bob Melvin already said it's Kyle Harrison and Hayden Birdsong fighting for the 5th rotation spot. We'll get to Birdsong in a minute. But whoever loses there is still going to have a pretty healthy role with the Giants because they have Verlander and Robbie Ray and Jordan Hicks, not the pillars of health. Let's just put it that way. So these young arms will get, like, I wouldn't be shocked if both of them have over 100 innings pretty easily in the Giants rotation by the end of the season. Kyle Harrison, what I do like about him is a guy that he had some like shoulder issues that shut down the end of his season. So that is not great, but he's supposedly good to go. Again, we'll see how that goes when we see velos and whatnot as spring comes into play here. Always a grain of salt in that regard. But it's one of those guys, he had a horrific July, but bounced back relatively nicely in August, which I like to see with a young pitcher. He has really, really good strikeout stuff. The walks, they were an issue 2 months out of the year. The other 4, I'll say 3 because September he barely pitched. We're not a major issue. Keeps the ball in the ballpark for the most part, which is a plus. The second half, not so much, but that's mainly because of July yet again. So I don't know. Like it's gambling on upside, it's gambling on strikeout skills, it's gambling on a guy that is trying to mess with his pitch mix already. So it just depends on how you want to go there. But it's not ideal. Not ideal. Like if Chris Buich makes the rotation, I could see that being interesting, honestly, because of the changes he made in the bullpen. But this whole reason's a lot of this especially is a bunch of what ifs, is what I'll say.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting to see Andrew Painter going this late compared to who we just talked about, Bubba Chandler. I feel like those two guys were going around the same price early in draft season. And I don't even think Andrew Painter, unless you're in an IL league and you have that like minor leaguer to stash, I don't think we're going to see Andrew Painter. I mean, the Phillies have pretty much come out and said we're not going to see Andrew Painter for a while. So it's too long to stash somebody there. So yeah, tough group. I like Detmers, but like I'm fully aware it's could not be good again.
Like there's pitchers after this 110 range, after ADP 368, that seem a bit more appealing, honestly. And we're each going to give a guy here. If you want to get some honorable mentions after, we can. But I'll give you the floor here first, Ryan. I absolutely like yours is one of my favorite targets back here. So who's your post 110 pitcher on the ADP charts?
I'm going to go Hayden Wesneski. I've always kind of been, I really like what I saw from Hayden Wesneski last season with the Cubs. Just didn't really get a chance. I think he made a few starts, but didn't really get a chance to show what he could do. It sounds like that's going to change this year with Wesneski going to Houston. Like it looks like he's going to be their 5th starter. Houston is kind of like a pitching organization that I totally trust right now. We talked in an earlier show about how so many of Houston pitchers switched up their pitch mixes and whatnot last season, even in the second half, and really worked like a charm. I mean, look at Yusei Kikuchi, what he did when he went to Houston. So it's not just blind faith in the Astros. I already like Hayden Wesneski, and he's got the role, at least with a decent spring training. So I don't even know what his ADP is. It's off this list, so it's probably 400 plus. Just took him in the WRF draft.
431.
So I like him a lot. 431. Yeah, he was a reserve in the WRF draft, and I was happy to get him. Doesn't work out fine, but I think Wesneski has the raw stuff that Houston is looking for and can work with. And I for that reason, Wesneski's one of my favorite end game starting pitchers.
Yeah, I love him. They pretty much they traded for him. Local kid. They said he is their 5th starter. That's obviously barring this. Seeing what happens. They have a bunch of guys coming back around the All-Star break. They already said McCullers is going to the bullpen because he obviously can't last in the rotation. And then you'll see whenever Luis Garcia comes back and company to see how that, or Keedy, I believe. But it's Wesneski's to roll with, and I think that's a great way because if anything, it goes back to some of our early conversations. I'm not comparing him to Jackson Jobe and Kumar Rocker, but if Wesneski's going to start the year in the rotation, you draft him late, and if he fails, you drop him and you move on. Or if one of these guys come back and they move into whatever, you take the early starts and you move on. Like that's a great way to go about it with Hayden Wesneski. He can be a bench streamer, lots of ways to go about it there. So, yeah, I like him a lot. I'm with you on that. All right, we're going to go Hayden for Hayden here in our late picks with Hayden Birdsong. I mentioned we'll talk about him shortly. He's competing with Kyle Harrison for the 5th man in the rotation. I think Birdsong's the better pitcher. I hope Birdsong wins it out. Personally, he's going to be 23 this year, so super young, which is great. And that's where I kind of check off some of the issues he had because, my God, a 13.7% walk rate at the big league level. We saw a 14.3% walk rate at AAA last year. It was brutal because prior to that, he had a couple 10s and 12s, but he also some sub double-digit walk rates. It just blew up of late, but he also had a 27.9% strikeout rate. So he still had a 14.3% K to walk, even though he had the walk rate issues, 20% K to walk throughout the minors last year. A lot of, obviously, the walks. He gives up some home runs because he finds the zone. But like I go back to some of the starts he made last year, like one of them in Coors, just dominated the Rockies. I know it's the Rockies, but in Coors, didn't walk guys. There's like 2 or 3 starts where he didn't walk anybody, struck out a ton, and just dominated. Looked phenomenal. The biggest reason, the probably only reason I'm glad the Giants signed Justin Verlander is to work with Birdsong. Because even last year, I saw it on one of the broadcasts, Ryan Vogelsong compared to Birdsong to Verlander in the delivery to all of it. And then there's already videos of Birdsong's first bullpen on Monday of Verlander behind him talking to him in between every pitch. And so, like, if they could just get that work going, make that happen, and go from a 12% walk guy to even an 8% walk guy, like, my God, the things that could change for Hayden Birdsong. And like Dave McDonald's mentioning the fastball problem, totally get it. Work with a guy like Verlander. Didn't have the most dominating fastball at one time. Then he learned how to use different speeds.
How to locate it up.
Yes. Yep. Like these are the little things that I look at now that it might take a year or two still. It might not happen this year. But Birdsong's got the skill set that to just be a dominator. And I saw it like 3 times last year where he just shut down professional hitters. Again, Rockies, professional is a loose term, but you guys know what I'm saying. They're still big league players, and a 22-year-old went in and just dominated them. So I don't mind taking a shot at Hayden Birdsong. I think he wins the 5th starter spot unless some weird stuff happens. So that'd be the guy I'd go to in this range.
Would you in an actual draft, since you kind of picked Harrison and Birdsong, would you draft both of those guys on the same team?
Okay. No, I would not. I'd rather take a chance on Detmers, Wesneski, go get Weathers, even Bubich. I like him. I do. Like, even Dave talked about him when I had Hastings on for the Royals show, and just other guys talk about how the developments he made in the bullpen. And this is once a former, again, higher prospect in the system, was a starter, converted a reliever. Have we seen this story before, Ryan? Started a reliever, back to starter. I think that's been a thing lately. So that's where that optimism comes from. Again, ADP 358. You're at the YOLO time of the draft. Let's see what happens. And that if you get 120 innings of a improved Chris Bubik, that seems pretty sweet to me at this point in the draft. Harrison, the shoulder thing bugs me almost more than anything. They're saying he's healthy, but man, I want to see him pitch and see what his velo is personally. So
yeah, yep. Agreed.
We'll see. If there's a lot of questions, that's why they're going this late in drafts. Pretty simple stuff with this. Anybody else you want to give honorable mentions to back here?
Yeah. Let's segue. I've got a little special bloom board.
Beautiful.
It's a little wonky. Just made it right before the show. But what we're looking at is pitchers 280 plus, which is the theme of our show, who had the best combination of ball percentage, which is your ability, obviously, to throw strikes and have good control, and swinging strike rate, which obviously leads to strikeouts. And what I did here, what we're looking at with this board, is the pitchers who had the best combination of ball rate and swinging strike rate over the last 2 months of the season. So we're just kind of looking to slice how pitchers finished. How did they do? The minimum of 10 games started, and this is a list of 8 names that we're looking at on the YouTube stream, and I'll list them out here for the pod in just a second. But it's number 1. I sorted it by kind of that combination of ball rate and swinging strike. Number 1 is Grant Holmes. So I alluded to this earlier. Grant Holmes had the best combination of ball rate and whiff rate of any pitcher going currently outside the top 280 of drafts, and that's why he is our favorite late end game starting pitcher. You've got Matthew Boyd, number 2, who I talked about, concerns about the innings, but you cannot deny the skills. And since he finished strong like this, that's a good sign that he might be healthy going into 2025. Honorable mention is Ben Brown. So that was going to be my honorable mention for kind of end game starting pitchers that wasn't on our initial sheet after Wesneski. I took Ben Brown in the WRF draft as well. Don't know if he starts with the Cubs, but had a 34% ball rate and almost a 14% swinging strike over the last 2 months of the season. And then there's Reed Detmers, Sean Burke, DJ Hers, David Festa, and last but not least, our guy, Jordan Montgomery, is on this list, who kind of just had league average ball and swinging strike, but at least turned things around somewhat at the end of the season. So again, don't want to spend too much time on this, but it's just another way to kind of slice and dice the data. And you're trying to see, how did these guys finish? How did they look at the end of the season? Is there anything we can kind of glean from this list of pitchers? So anyway, wanted to throw that one out there.
No, I love this board because to the listeners, I did not know what was on this board. Ryan said he had a surprise for the end. So the fact that we talked about 6 of these guys, 5 of these guys, we have a listener question on Ben Brown. I think everyone knows my love for we've talked about Montgomery before as a guy that I'm I think on one of our DC shows, I'm at that ADP, why not? See if he can figure it out. I'm still not in love with a massive bounce back, but
yeah.
It wasn't that long ago where he was very good. So
it's tough to click the button. I will admit. Yeah. I will admit.
But you see something like this, you're like, okay, I'm not. Yeah, okay, gotcha. The Sean Burke one is very interesting because Mike Carter liked him a lot on the White Sox preview pod. I just heard Eno Saris talk about him in his Pitchers He Loves episode on Rates and Barrels. I just totally blanked on who he compared him to, but it's a very good pitcher. I'm going to say that much. Based his release point and some of the other factors to it. So just seeing these names, it's a very intriguing way to go about the end game. That's for sure.
Yeah, I have not picked Sean Burke at all, but I will dive deeper into him shortly, and I may take some stabs there, even though it is the White Sox.
at Barf this weekend. I might have to ask some more questions on that. That's for sure.
Nice. Michael in the chat, Burke, baby. This is a fun group until the very end, which obviously is our buddy, Mr. Montgomery. I get it. If you don't want to take Jordan Montgomery, I can't fault you.
We're not going to hold that one against you.
No, you're still allowed to listen to the show.
Yes. Any final thoughts on the end game here before we get to a couple listener questions?
Now let's do it.
All right, from Twitter, I just got the one for you. I want to shout out Corbin Young. He wants to say, will you talk about Mitch Keller tonight? Asking for a friend. Great draft and hold pick, in my opinion. No bias. Wink, wink. Yes, I decided to give him his props because he loves himself some Mitch Keller. So
yeah, we'll go with the backhanded compliment of great draft and hold player. Yeah, Mitch Keller will get you volume. Will get you Ks. Double-digit wins each of the last 2 seasons. Ratios, Dylan Cease-esque ratios.
Dylan Cease-esque.
So you don't want that. I'm just playing around. No, Mitch Keller, if you want volume, you need, and you're in deep leagues, fine, or draft and holds. But Corbin just loves Mitch Keller, so he had to get that.
Does. All right, questions from the Discord here. Our buddy Aaron Gifts. Are you drafting any Cade Horton in draft and holds? Is he still a prospect to target? ADP is around 597 right now. I'll get your thoughts first, and I'll give kind of the Sarah Sanchez thoughts from the Cubs preview.
I don't have much on Horton, so I'm interested in what Sarah says because, yeah, I value her Cubs wisdom.
I think she's interested in him, but not as like she wants Ben Brown a lot more than him. I think if I remember correctly, this was like a few weeks ago now, it was Ben Brown, then Cade Horton, then Jordan Wicks is how she saw things playing out there. So in a draft and hold, I get it. Yes. In a redraft, not a chance. But to Aaron's question, in a draft and hold at around pick 600, yeah, I could see that being something to keep in mind. Our buddy Martin Sokolsky says Nestor Cortes, Matt Boyd, and Clay Holmes are all going off the board after pick 300 and have new teams. If you had to pick one, who would it be? That is I'll rank them for you. But
wait, Clay Holmes, Boyd,
Matt
and who?
Boyd, and Nestor Cortes all have new homes. Yep.
I'll go Cortes, Clay Holmes, and Boyd.
Yeah, that's the same. As I have Cortes, Holmes, Boyd. Very intrigued with Holmes. Mixing the pitch mix up just a bit. Innings count was high enough last year that he can make a jump and be just fine this year. Like if he gives you 130 innings, that's pretty sweet at that ADP. So yeah, give me Cortes, Boyd, and Holmes in that range.
That's Clay Holmes again for
Clay
listeners.
Holmes, not Grant. Grant Holmes
would be number one.
Yeah, way ahead of all of them.
No, I think Clay Holmes. I think he can get 130 innings. It's been 60s. Yes, he's been a reliever, but it's been 60 plus innings each of the last 4 seasons for Clay Holmes. So like the durability has been there. It just hasn't all been in one season. And last but not least, he has the type of arsenal that can work in a bullpen to rotation transition in that he's got a pretty varied pitch arsenal. He leans on extreme ground balls. He's not just up there throwing fastball slider, trying to blow guys away as hard as he can throw. So I think Clay Holmes is, I thought that was pretty shrewd of the Mets to think they can make that work.
Yep, I liked it as well. Our buddy Andy Splinter, who finished up the auction this evening, better shot at the Texas 5th spot, Rocker or Bradford? Should I just take both in tonight's auction and let it sort out? Right now, everything points to Rocker, folks. So say that.
I'll be interested to see if he did take both, because they're both. Well, Rocker's probably getting up there.
Brad probably had a pick later in the reserves would be my guess.
Let me check our Patreon plug here, but let me check our pick tracker.
Kumar Rocker and Cody Bradford.
Rocker is at through the first 2 drafts. I don't have tonight's. I'll get it from Lucas at some point. Rocker has gone for $5 and $2 in our 2 drafts, and Bradford has gone undrafted and $1. So you could take a shot at both and just cut whoever doesn't start.
Yeah, for sure. John Wilder says, I got a lot of Grant Holmes in early draft season. His price has gone up so much. Is he still a value with where he is going? He went for $7 in last night's auction. That was on Monday night. Yeah, he's still worth it. I think he's well worth it.
Yes, agreed. I think he's worth $7, and probably, well, I don't know. I don't want to take credit for, we all love Grant Holmes, but I feel like Grant Holmes will probably be a Bubba in the Bloom inflation auction guy. When our 10 leagues are done, I'm going to compare our AAV versus the rest of NFBC, and I feel like Grant Holmes will be up there.
Just ignore the catchers too while you're at it. My God.
Non-catcher division.
Oh my goodness. Our buddy Moose says, I think I've rostered every player on that board at some point over the last 3 years. Is that bad? And then Brendan says, never wrong, just early. So that's pretty funny. Yeah. Our buddy Sean Chard says, this is a bounce back season for Mad Max, which is 150 innings, and is a top 5 pitcher in value, buy or sell. I think we're buying.
Top 50, not top 5.
Top 50,
I'm selling. I don't think he gets to 150. That would be awesome.
If he got to 150, it'd be an amazing price tag.
Yeah, and I think if he got to 150, he's like a top 30 pitcher in value, not top 50. Yeah. But I don't think Max Scherzer gets 150 innings. I'd love to see him do it, but my man's getting up there.
It's almost just like, give me 100, and I'll be happy with whatever I get after that type thing. Just give me 100. Our buddy BP says, if Bubic gets a rotation spot, do you guys like him? I think he outperforms those projections. I do.
Yep. Agreed. Yep. I think Bubic is a fine late stab, and he's, again, one of the later ones we talked about. So it doesn't work. That's fine. But 27 years old, really, I mean, almost 15% swing strike rate last year, threw a ton of strikes, ground balls. Like, he's got all of the pieces that you want, kind of, except for health. But I don't know. Pre-injury was 130 innings, 143 innings in 21 and 22. So I like Chris Bubic.
Brendan says, which height sleeper are you buying more, Holmes, Festa, Herz, or Soriano?
I'll say Grant Holmes, Festa,
Herz,
Clay Holmes, Soriano.
Herz, it was Herz and Soriano. No Clay Holmes.
Was there a Holmes?
It was Grant Holmes, David Festa, DJ Herz, Jorge Soriano. I have it the order it's listed there.
Who the hell is Jorge Soriano?
Jose Soriano. The other guy getting.
How would you rank him? I obviously failed at answering.
I have him ranked the way they're listed: Holmes, Festa, Herz, Soriano. That's how I have him ranked.
Is this in the Discord? Oh, there it is.
Yes, it's in the Discord.
How do you know it's Clay Holmes? He just says Holmes.
I'm assuming based on the board above, it would be Grant Holmes, because I don't see Clay Holmes on the board above.
Yeah, that was an erroneous initial board. I will go Grant Holmes, Festa. I would do it in that order. Is that what you said?
That's what I said about 5 minutes ago. Yeah.
Holmes, Festa, Herz, Soriano. Now that we've wasted 5 minutes of your life, that's what we got.
I love it. Last question we got here. Sean Chard says,
another one. All right.
Sean Chard says, Edward Cabrera and Ryan Weathers, which Marlin breaks out this year? Give me all the Ryan Weathers.
Yeah, I'll go Ryan Weathers as well over Edward Cabrera. I like Cabrera. I don't see any reason why the control will get under control. So I think they both have high ceilings. I just think Ryan Weathers has a better chance of getting to it.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I'm going to be buying more and more into Ryan Weathers for that big potential step forward at the age of 23 or 24 now, whatever the heck he is. So looking forward to that for sure. All right, Ryan, we made it 4 episodes of starting pitchers. Four episodes of starting pitchers, relief pitchers on Thursdays, and then we're done with position previews. We got some plans for you guys besides just streaming. If we could pull it off, it's going to be pretty sweet, but I'll leave that till we decide on that further down the road. Final thoughts on the position?
No, best of luck taking your starting pitchers. I hope ours work out. It is a damn hard position to try and figure out, but I think and I hope these dives really into these mid rounds, late rounds has helped you all, and hopefully we're more right than wrong on these guys, but you never know.
Like the one thing I'll say to kind of add on to that is we do all the position previews, and it's like you only need 2 catchers, you only need 1 first baseman, maybe 2, like so on and so forth. So there's a slew you can kind of pick through. Pitchers, you need a lot. Like you need 9 starters for one. Usually 6 or 7 starting pitchers and 2 closers, but then you have bench. And you listen to all these shows, a lot of us are going to be on the same pitchers. So trying to divide those same 40 pitchers amongst a 15-team league becomes challenging compared to, if anybody understands what I'm trying to say there. So it's definitely a tough position to go for. Just wait on the pitchers. That's the way to do it, and see where it goes from there. And you don't have to worry about it. But
Don't wait too long, though. Don't wait too long.
Don't wait too long. Yeah, don't wait too long.
So yeah, it's in the chat here says it's past Ryan's bedtime. We need to leave me alone and get me on my way. So got a big day tomorrow. So
really, I can't wait to hear about this. All right, we'll wrap it up there. We'll be back with you guys Thursday night to do your relief pitching preview, labor draft next Tuesday. Much more down the road. But until next time, make sure you check out Ryan on Twitter at RyanBHQ, the podcast at Bubba Bloom Pod, and on Patreon at patreon.com/Bubba Bloom. I'm on Twitter at BDintric. This is Bubba and the Bloom, episode 215. Catch you all next time.